Dan here, Max SPL Videos, and today we're going to talk about what I think makes for a pro level DJ controller. So, these days, it's a great time to be a DJ. The amount of features and functionality you get out of an entry-level DJ controller is insane. So, let me preface everything I'm going to say with the simple fact of it doesn't matter what system you're using as long as you're using it right? If you're rocking it, if you're using a $100 DJ controller, you show up to a wedding, you DJ all night and everybody has a good time, everything sounds good, customers are happy. That may be all you need, but today I just want to talk about the dollars and cents, the spec sheets, all that stuff of what I feel makes for a higher end pro level piece of equipment. And I feel it's getting a little harder to tell, like what's pro, what's prosumer. Because if you look at a spec sheet next to a spec sheet, it gets a little tricky to tell where you should be putting your money. All right, so number one, in my opinion, all these are opinion, construction, particularly metal. Okay, a lot of entry-level controllers, they've got to cut corners somewhere, and the first thing they do is make the chassis out of plastic. It's fine. It's going to be generally less durable. That's the trade-off, right? Also makes them lighter, right? There's always pros and cons to every choice. Other things like wobbliness of knobs, general longevity of different components, you will find if you feel the knobs and adjustments and all that stuff on a higher end controller, there is a noticeable difference once you pass the certain threshold, and generally that threshold is often including a metal chassis. Once you get to that point, usually they put in the extra couple bucks to make all the knobs and faders and all that stuff just a little step above. Your mileage may vary. Number two, and this one is a big one for me, coming mostly from the pro audio world, professional in and outs. Okay, RCAs are okay. Auxiliary / 1/8 inch gets the job done. XLR, balanced 1/4 inch. That's where it's at, right? My speakers, they take XLR. If a controller only outputs RCA, I've got to go through a mixer or I've got to get some adapters. If you aren't familiar with the difference between balanced and unbalanced cabling and the differences between, say, line level of consumer products and line level signal on professional products, go and do a little bit of reading. I'm not going to get into it here, but there is a difference. It makes a difference, and it's generally just easier to wire up pro level gear to pro level gear. If it's just got RCAs, I mean, you can hook that up to a stereo system pretty easy at home. Little bit more of a pain to a PA setup. Depends on the PA. But for me, professional ins and outs are a big sign of this is a pro level piece of equipment versus this is an entry level piece of equipment. Number three, standalone mixing to some extent. Now, I'm not talking about things like the Denon Prime. That thing's amazing. You don't have to plug into a computer, all that stuff. I'm meaning if I've got my phone plugged into a channel on here because I have to reset my computer, this still functions. There's a lot of controllers out there that if you're planning on doing that, it will not work. Now, the good news is a lot of those controllers, as I was talking about in the previous little example there, you're having to go through an external mixer anyway. So in that case, run your phone through that mixer. But having that built in, very handy, and again, to me, a sign that this is designed to work in a professional environment. All right. Number four, and this is a more Serato-oriented sort of number here, but it's a very easy tell. Does it come with the pro level of the software, or does it come with the light version of the software? This unit here came with the pro level version of Serato. It came with pitch and time, and I believe flip, and maybe a couple other little things. You plug it in, the software says, yeah, you got it, and you have pro level software, no monthly fees or anything like that to upgrade. Some controllers out there will come with, say, 8 pads, and then they only let you use really 4 out of the box unless you upgrade to the higher end software. That to me is a red flag of this is intended as a prosumer product that, yeah, I mean, you spend a few bucks, you can upgrade, etc. Work that into your budget and decide, you know, is it worth just stepping up to a unit that comes with Serato Pro, or, you know, if you're thinking about going record box or anything like that, you know, see what it all comes with software wise. And that can be a good indication if the company that built the thing considered as a pro level piece of equipment, or a prosumer or amateur entry level, whatever term you want to use to describe that next step down. Okay. Last but definitely not least, a power cord. Now this is an odd one, but this is what kind of inspired me to do this video. Almost every higher end pro level DJ controller that I have found that is currently available, it plugs into the wall. And I have a strong suspicion it is just simply a limitation of the USB bus power. I have at home a audio interface that has 2 microphone inputs and balanced TRS outputs, but that's it. It doesn't have a whole bunch of other things that unit has to do. So when they go and they make a DJ controller that's running off of USB, they have to figure out, okay, what functionality do we have to sacrifice for keeping it as a bus-powered unit? And that can be incredibly convenient for the end user to just pop it into the computer. Cool. But for me, it is worth plugging into the wall if it means, oh, I don't know, standalone mixing. So if I have to reset my computer, this doesn't reset too. I can have my phone or an MP3 player of some kind running through one of the channels. Computer's bugging out. I reboot it, load this thing, load it all back up, bring a fader up, back in action. You can't do that on a lot of the more entry-level units. And that to me is a big hurdle to get over. But that's up to you, right? Are all of these features that I'm talking about in terms of balanced in and outs and standalone mixing and stuff like that, is that worth it to you? Or do you just want to go bus powered? Because from what I've seen, you're probably not going to find a pro unit that is bus powered that has everything that I've listed here. So you'll notice some things I didn't talk about. One big one being the LCD screens that you're seeing pop up on some less expensive units these days that used to be reserved for the top of the line. These features kind of creeping down and making these entry-level controllers better and better and better. And that's great, right? More features for your dollar. It's awesome. But I will take XLR over LCD screens any day, personally. Your mileage may vary. You'll notice I didn't mention 4 decks, right? I use a 4-deck controller because I use 2 of those decks for microphones. But the average DJ tends to just use 2 decks. So stuff like that, you want to be really careful, because if you're looking at a DJ controller these days, you'll see a lot of these checkbox features. And it makes it look really blurry as to, well, why would I pay $1,500 when I can get this $300 ones that actually has more boxes checked? But it's missing some of the things that you likely will need down the road. So just be careful of that. Now, do you agree with me on these? Do you disagree? Do you think, you know what, like I will take an entry-level controller with LCD over a higher-end one, because, like, come on, like, that's just, it's what I need in my controller, things like that. Let me know. But for me, that's what separates those two categories. Your mileage may vary, but I'd love to hear what you think. You have a good one, and I will see you in the next video.